Ettore Majorana was one of the most brilliant and mysterious scientists of the 20th century. He was born on August 5, 1906, in Catania, a city on the island of Sicily, Italy. From a young age, he showed a strong talent for mathematics and science. He came from a wealthy and well-educated family. His father was an engineer, and his mother came from an important family in Sicily. Everyone around him noticed that he had a sharp mind and a calm, serious personality. When Majorana grew older, he studied engineering at the University of Rome. However, he later changed his field to physics because he was fascinated by the new discoveries happening in the world of atomic science. In the 1920s and 1930s, physics was going through a revolution. Scientists in Europe were discovering new particles, new laws of nature, and strange effects that could only be explained by the new theory of quantum mechanics. This was the science that explained how atoms and subatomic particles behaved. It was confusing, strange, and beautiful. And Majorana quickly became one of the few people who could truly understand it. When Majorana joined the physics department in Rome, he became part of a famous group of young scientists known as the Via Panisperna Boys, named after the street where their laboratory was located. This group was led by Enrico Fermi, who later became one of the most important physicists in history and helped create the first nuclear reactor. The group included other talented young scientists such as Emilio Segre, Edoardo Amaldi, and Franco Rossetti. Even among these bright minds, Majorana stood out. He had a special way of thinking, deep, quiet, and very original. Fermi once said that there are different kinds of geniuses. Some are like volcanoes that explode with ideas, like Galileo, and others are like deep wells, silent, but full of profound thoughts. Fermi said that Majorana was one of the latter, a true genius whose intelligence was beyond ordinary human understanding. Majorana's colleagues respected and admired him, but they also found him difficult to approach. He was shy and preferred to work alone. He did not like fame or attention. Instead of talking much, he spent hours thinking, writing notes, and doing calculations. Many of his ideas were far ahead of his time. Majorana made several important contributions to theoretical physics. One of his most famous ideas was about particles that could be their own antiparticles. In physics, every particle is thought to have an opposite partner. For example, the electron has a positron. Majorana suggested that there could be particles that are their own opposites. These became known as Majorana fermions. At the time, this idea was so advanced that few people could understand its importance. Decades later, in the 21st century, scientists realized that Majorana's prediction might help explain many mysteries in modern physics, such as dark matter and the behavior of certain superconducting materials. His name continues to appear in scientific papers, showing how far ahead of his time he really was. Besides his theoretical work, Majorana also developed mathematical tools that helped make quantum mechanics easier to understand. He wrote about atomic nuclei, energy levels, and symmetry. However, he published very few papers during his life. He was a perfectionist and refused to release his work until he felt it was completely correct. Because of this, much of his research remained in notebooks that were later found after his disappearance. In the mid-1930s, Majorana began to withdraw more from public life. He became quiet, moody, and isolated. Some people think he may have suffered from depression or anxiety. Others believe he was troubled by the potential use of nuclear physics for destructive purposes, especially as scientists were starting to understand how atomic energy could be used for powerful weapons. Friends and colleagues noticed that Majorana no longer attended meetings regularly and rarely communicated with others. He still worked, but mostly in private. He avoided the social gatherings that his fellow physicists enjoyed. Some people even said that he had developed a kind of fear of the world, a sense that he could not fit in with ordinary life. Despite his growing isolation, Majorana's talent was recognized internationally. In 1937, he was appointed as a professor of theoretical physics at the University of Naples. This was a high honor, especially since the position was given to him without any formal competition, something that had never happened before. The Italian government and scientific community respected him so much that they made an exception just for him. Then came the event that turned him into a legend. In March 1938, only a few months after becoming a professor, Majorana suddenly vanished. On March 25th, he withdrew a large sum of money from his bank account. He then sent a strange letter to the head of his university, saying that he had decided to end his life. The letter was written calmly and politely, but its meaning was clear. It was a kind of farewell. However, shortly after sending that letter, Majorana sent another letter, this time to his family, saying that they should not worry and that he would return soon. This created immediate confusion. That same evening, he boarded a ship from Palermo to Naples. He was seen on the ship, but when the vessel arrived in Naples the next morning, he was gone. No one saw him get off. His cabin was empty, and there was no trace of him on board or in the sea. It was as if he had simply disappeared into thin air. When the news reached his colleagues and family, they were shocked. Police were called, and searches were made along the coast. The Italian government and even the Vatican got involved, trying to find any clue about what had happened. But nothing was found. No body, no luggage, no witnesses. His friend Enrico Fermi was deeply affected by the disappearance. Fermi contacted every possible authority, hoping that Majorana might still be alive somewhere. He said that Majorana was not the kind of man who would act impulsively, and he believed there must be a deeper reason behind what had happened. Some reports later claimed that Majorana had bought a return ticket and might have come back to Naples secretly, but there was no proof. Rumors started to spread. Some said he had jumped into the sea during the trip. Others said he had left Italy to live in South America. A few even believed he had joined a monastery or gone into hiding to live as a monk. Over the years, many theories have tried to explain Majorana's disappearance, but none have been proven. The most common explanation is that Majorana committed suicide by jumping into the sea between Palermo and Naples. His farewell letter supports this idea. People say he might have been suffering from depression or mental illness. However, there is no evidence of a body, and some details don't fit. For example, he withdrew money and carried his documents with him, which doesn't match the behavior of someone planning to die. Another theory says that Majorana did not die, but chose to disappear voluntarily. Some believe he went to a monastery to live a quiet, spiritual life away from science and the modern world. There were even reports of people seeing a man who looked like him in different monasteries in southern Italy. This theory fits with his quiet and reflective nature. He may have wanted peace from the pressures of life and science. A third theory suggests that he fled Italy and went to South America, perhaps to Argentina or Venezuela. After World War II, several witnesses claimed to have seen a man resembling Majorana there. Some even said he continued to do physics under a different name. However, none of these sightings were ever confirmed. Each of these theories has gaps, and none fully explain all the strange details of the case. Because no one ever found out the truth, the story of Ettore Majorana became a mystery that fascinated scientists, historians, and writers for decades. People have compared him to other geniuses who disappeared or went mad because of their own brilliance. Books, films, and plays have been written about him, each offering different explanations. To this day, Majorana is remembered not only for his intelligence, but also for the mystery surrounding him. His story combines science, psychology, and philosophy. The idea of a man who understood the universe but perhaps could not bear to live within it. The Italian writer Leonardo Sciascia wrote a famous book titled The Disappearance of Majorana, in which he suggested that Majorana left the world of science because he foresaw the terrible uses that atomic energy would bring, such as the creation of nuclear bombs. According to Sciascia, Majorana's disappearance was an act of moral protest, a way to reject a world moving toward destruction. Even though he vanished in 1938, Majorana's influence on physics continues. Scientists today still talk about Majorana particles, and experiments are being done to find them. In fact, in 2012, researchers thought they might have discovered such particles in certain materials used for quantum computers, and they named them after him. His few published papers are still read by physicists all over the world. They are considered masterpieces of clarity and originality. His notebooks, which were found after his disappearance, revealed many more ideas that showed just how advanced his thinking was. Ettore Majorana has become a symbol, not only of genius, but also of the mystery of the human mind. His life raises questions about what it means to be brilliant, how intelligence can isolate someone, and whether the pursuit of knowledge can sometimes lead to deep inner conflict. Ettore Majorana's disappearance remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in modern history. A brilliant physicist, admired by his peers and respected by his teachers, he simply vanished without leaving a trace. His mind gave the world ideas that scientists are still exploring today, yet his personal fate continues to puzzle everyone. Was he a man who could not handle the weight of his own genius? Did he escape from the world to find peace? Or did he choose to disappear for moral or spiritual reasons? No one knows. What is certain is that Ettore Majorana's life reminds us that even the brightest minds can be full of secrets. His story is a mixture of science, mystery, and tragedy, a reminder that sometimes understanding the universe is easier than understanding the human heart.